All right, well, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another week of the Boyz, also known as the Bible Boys. My name is James.
And I'm Pip. I am looking forward to another week of getting into the Bible with y'all.
Y'all. That's right. We are we are on about the Bible. We are not Bible. Oh, dear. Misspoken. Excuse me. We are boys seeking understanding in God's Word. But Pip, I want to know, how's your week been so far?
Look, my week's been good. I've been going for a few walks down Parramatta River. I listened to the latest episode, or actually only just half of the latest episode of that Mark Driscoll podcast, Rise and Fall of Mars Hill. Have you listened to the latest episode?
I have. Episode 6, also known as The Brand.
Yeah, very interesting. I was so, super interested in the tech team at Mars Hill were able to, get... They had 3 of the highest quality cameras that, and NBC at the time only had 2.
It had 2, that's right.
I found that so telling, in a sense, of
yes.
When you really believe in an angle, you're willing to fund it. And that was the case there. I was walking down Parramatta River, bumped into Sam and Soph and them, so that was cool.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's nice, yeah.
What else? I filmed a sermon yesterday.
The Ephesians 2 one, right?
Ephesians 2, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I think that was okay. It's always weird filming a sermon in your bedroom.
Was that the best room in the house to do it? Lighting wise, acoustics wise?
Yeah. Out of the 2 rooms in the unit, that was the better one. And
nice.
Yeah, it went okay. One thing I've been it's just kind of coincidental, but in doctrine class today we were talking about the attributes of God. And in Ephesians 2, 1-10, it talks about, God makes us alive. And the cause behind God making us alive spiritually is his great love for us. And I was kind of digging into that, and I was thinking, why does God love us? Why does God love us? Why does a parent love a child? There is a sense that you love them because they're from you. But there's just something why is God loving? Why, and it seems to be, I don't know if I use this term correctly, but the notion of first principles, the thing you can't go you can't go beyond when you ask why, a little child asks why. There comes a point where you just say, well, that's just the way it is. And I think that's true of God's love. God is love. There's nothing beyond that. You can't ask why beyond that. You can ask how do we know God is love? And that's, his revelation to us in Jesus. But to dig into why is God love as opposed to some other attribute as his defining quality, or some other mix of attributes that could make up God, which is kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, that is crazy to think about. I mean, I remember, you're talking about the attributes of God. Did you go through the aseity of God?
We did. I forget what that word means now.
That's all right. Yeah. Well, I can explain how it's related to what you're saying.
Sure.
Yeah. I remember the first time I heard of the aseity of God. Listeners, aseity of God is talking about his attribute that he is completely self-sufficient in and of himself. You and me, we need food, we need oxygen, we need water, we need external things in order to survive. But God is completely and utterly self-existent, self-dependent. He does, well, even the word dependent is the wrong word there, but he has full existence in and of himself. He does not need anything outside of himself. And I remember the first time hearing about that, and the way that the preacher applied it blew my brain, because what he was saying is, if you think about love for a second, a lot of us love because we're lonely, or love because we don't want to be alone, or we love because we want to get something from another person, or we love because there is something deficient in us. God's love is completely and utterly I forgot how the wording was, but he doesn't need anything, which means that his love is not because he's trying to get something from us. There's nothing prior to or above or beyond his love. That he loves us is just because he is love.
Yeah, but it's so hard to understand how God can just have that attribute. I mean, as humans, when you say, oh, that person's really loving, or that person's not so loving, and you ask, why are they like that? You can study their upbringing, and you can study their environment, and you can study their neurology,
personality.
Yeah, and you can actually talk about the factors that play into why they turned out that way. Whereas God didn't turn out that way.
Yes,
God
he just is.
He just is. Yeah. And you get, and these ideas of what makes existence. Well, I mean, we have existence because we have we have like the ability to sense. We have input from the world around us. That's I guess that's what it means to be alive. I think, therefore I am. That's another expression of it. Mm-hmm. But there is nothing. There's no I blank, therefore I am with God. It's just I am, therefore I am.
Yeah, that's it. That's incredible.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with that necessarily, because I mean, one of the allegations, I guess, leveled against Christians is you come up with a God that you want to be there. What are the chances that God is a loving God that sounds great and that you love? Like, what are the chances of that? In all the kind of mixtures of gods that you could end up with if there is one God. And it feels like a good allegation. It feels like a strong argument against Christianity. But the reason we think God is loving is not because of like abstract formulation. It's based on revelation. We fear God because there are things about God we know are fearful, like the judgment that he can dish out on peoples, because that has been seen as well. So
it's rooted in reality.
Yeah.
And I think there's another argument that you can take onto that, which is I remember the first time someone, and actually I didn't hear this first from a Christian person. I heard it in a physics lecture at uni, which again blew my brain as I applied it to the God who was there, because the physics lecturer was saying, sometimes people go, oh, that's awfully convenient that oxygen is the way it is, and we have just the right concentration in our atmosphere, and the climate is right for us to live. It's awfully convenient that that's the case. And the lecturer was saying, well, yeah, it's convenient, but if it wasn't the case, you also wouldn't be here in order to say that that's convenient.
Yeah, that's right.
Because reality is the way it is, you are able to say, wow, isn't that so good that works out for us? Yeah. And that's true of God. It's, you know, isn't it?
But you think about, I don't know whether you like the fine-tuning argument for God.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to explain that for our listeners?
So some people, in trying to defend the fact that the idea that God exists, will say, look at our universe, look at our planet. It seems also finely tuned. We're just the right distance from the sun. Things are set up in such a finely tuned way that there must be someone doing the fine tuning. There must be a God because it looks so intelligently designed. I respect that as an argument. I don't think it's a very strong argument though, because exactly what you said. If there was a world, if there are trillions of planets, let's say, and the chances of one being inhabitable are, 1 or 2 in a trillion or 3 in a trillion, something like that, then you'd expect 1 or 2 or 3 to be in the universe. And so it's not actually surprising that there is. The fact that it's ours, like, if it wasn't ours, then we wouldn't be here to talk about it. So I don't think it's a particularly strong argument. I don't know, like, if you're doing apologetics, if you're trying to convince someone of Christianity, I don't know if you'd ever pull out that kind of line of argument, would you?
No, I think you're right about the fine-tuning argument. I think what it does is it inspires confidence and hope in the Christian. But as a knockdown, can you see how there's design in the universe? It probably isn't the most effective thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think over the years I've been inspired by different apologetic arguments, and ones that have really struck me, like, oh man, think about that. But the one that sticks is, like, all we know is what is revealed to us. That's how we know things, is whether we discover them or not. And so, did Jesus come and die and rise? If that's true, and then it is genuinely a faith. It is a faith that Jesus rose from death. There's plenty of evidence for it. It's not an uncertain faith. It's a certain faith. It's a certain hope. Yeah.
And it's a faith that it's an informed faith, not a blind faith. Yeah. It's interesting in that for many years in philosophy, there's this branch of philosophy that's about how you know things, and how you know what you know. The term for it is epistemology. And in epistemology, there's this definition for what knowledge is, which is a justified true belief. So it's something that you know. It's something that you have good reasons to know. And it's something that is true and accords with reality. And now, the JTB, the Justified True Belief account of epistemology, has been under huge amounts of scrutiny for many years. But just on a basic level of the most compelling, the most widely accepted definition of knowledge, Christianity checks all those boxes. Which is pretty cool. Hey, on the Mars Hill, how in the podcast how I was saying, anything that Mark wanted, anything that the guy, I think his name's Josh or something, the media guy wanted, like, the church would just approve. Got me thinking about Sam from church. Like, can you imagine Sam? It'd be a kid in a candy store. Like. That's it.
Well, because the guy mentioned Red cameras.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I looked up Red cameras to see, and if you Google high quality live streaming cameras, the ones that Google will recommend to you are like $3,000. If you Google Red camera and you look at their good cameras, they're like $15,000-$20,000. Like,
wow,
they get expensive. Like, yeah,
that's pretty cool. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like, when I think back to when I was in early high school, I used to watch a lot of Mark Driscoll. I think part of the reason I watched him so easily was because he was easy to watch because the quality of the audio and the video was so good.
Yeah, it was all excellently produced, wasn't it? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I also, my background's marketing. I love the insight into repackaging the sermons, because that's what they did, they just have Ruth subtitle.
Yeah, that's right.
Something like that.
I was also struck by that back in the day when I first encountered him in first year uni, because I wasn't too familiar with church branding and stuff, but I knew enough to know that, there'd be a catchy title or something. So, for example, the greatest hero ever, ? And you go, which sermon series is that? It's like, oh, it's Luke's gospel. And it's trying to talk about how he's the greatest hero because he saves us.
Yeah. It's like, no, we don't need that. Like,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So listeners, in the podcast, I was saying how one of the great, or one of the really important innovations was they just called the sermon series the name of the book of the Bible, and there'd be a tagline after it, but just go with the book of the Bible, and it helps with your Google rankings, because if people are searching Luke sermon series, oh, they'll find Luke sermon series. You don't have to decipher greatest hero? ?
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, so that's a bit about how my week is going. It's feeling, I don't know. I feel like, in a sense, I've had to. I struggle when I've got a sermon to do study at the same time, because I'm like, why not just work on a sermon? Which is probably not the best way to think, but so it's felt like an odd week. Anyway, how's your week been?
Well, Pip, this is on the fly. I've just got an idea. What if you ask me how I'm doing, and we'll do it after the Bible time? Because I feel like, as the Bible boys, we should get to the Bible.
We would be remiss if we didn't at least spend a little bit of time in the Bible today.
Just a little bit of time. Even though, the last few weeks, like a good 30, 35 minutes of our 50, 55-minute time is in the Bible. We spend a lot of time in the Bible.
That's it.
But this might be the one. We want to make sure this episode isn't where we fall off the cliff. So let's get to the Bible.
Hey, my thing I want to share today is very short.
Please do share. Where are we in the Bible?
So, I want to share the very last verse I read in my quiet times, which is...
You're in Exodus, right?
Exodus chapter 20. Verse 26.
Exodus 20:26.
So this is laws about altars.
Okay, go ahead and run us through this verse. Oh no, is my camera frozen again?
It is, that's okay.
That's alright, we'll keep going.
We'll just keep rolling. It says, "Do not go up to my altar on steps, or your private parts may be exposed." Now, I was trying to think about this one. 10 Commandments. Lots of people know the 10 Commandments or know of the 10 Commandments. This commandment, lesser known, I would presume. Okay?
Yes.
Don't go up on the altar on steps, because if you go up to the altar on steps, your private parts may be exposed. What, James, what do you think this is like? Did they wear kilts? Did they wear dresses? I don't know. Look, there's nothing particularly inspiring about this verse. I'm just curious about these verses from 22 to 26. The one before it, even, it says, "If you make an altar of stones for me, do not build it with dressed stones, for you will defile it if you use a tool on it." So the purity, if you use tools on the altar to, I don't know, to inscribe or to chisel the stones or something, that's not good for the altar. But it is interesting. So verse 24 is when we get... actually, let me just read from verse 22. Altars. If you've never thought about altars, it's interesting. I haven't thought much about altars. But verse 22, God says to Moses, "Tell the Israelites this, you have seen for yourselves that I have spoken to you from heaven. Do not make any gods to be alongside me. Do not make for yourselves gods of silver or gods of gold. Make an altar of earth for me, and sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, your sheep and goats and your cattle. Wherever I cause my name to be honored, I will come to you and bless you." So that seems to be kind of the command and the reason for the altars. One thing I'm kind of wrestling with is what do you do when you get to something like this? Because altars were around before this command. The first mention that we get of altars...
it's Genesis 4, right? With Cain and Abel.
Yes. Just trying to find the... exact reference.
Oh, it says he brought an offering in Genesis 4. I don't know if it says altar, though.
Genesis 8. Can you look up Genesis 8:20?
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, that's right. Noah building an altar after coming out of the ark.
Yeah. And does he sacrifice a burnt offering on the altar?
He does. Burnt offerings on it.
Yeah, so this practice of sacrificing animals, burnt offerings, different. It says fellowship offerings. It's as if these types of offerings were known to the Israelites, known to Abraham's people, known even before Abraham. And there is evidence in other kind of ancient Near East religions of animal sacrifice and sacrifices being made and altars being built and this kind of thing. And so, I like some of the arguments around Genesis and much of the Pentateuch is when God commands for stuff like this to happen, it's not necessarily saying God wants it to happen, but God wants it to happen a particular way to be a sign to other nations around them or other people groups as like a polemic, almost like a rebuke or an argument against them, to say, to kind of show a distinctive of God's character. I'm just not, so when I come across this sort of stuff, I don't know what to think about animal sacrifice and altars, and I mean, I know that in the description of animals, the lifeblood of an animal is considered its life. And so symbolically, to offer up an animal is like to offer up a life, which is the penalty for sin, as you see in Genesis 3, Genesis 2 and 3. And so how do we think about these objects of Old Testament worship that are so foreign to us as Christians? What is our altar equivalent? Anyway, very half-formed thoughts. Do you have any thoughts on this whole subject?
I did a bit of thinking about altars and the Old Testament sacrifices 2 years ago for a mid-year conference. So part of my apprenticeship a few years ago was to do some days with the University Christian Group with the University of Sydney Cumberland campus. And their mid-year conference was on the cross. And for our seminars, we spent a bit of time in Leviticus, and we made some links to Hebrews. And I think that big picture, seeing just how pivotal Hebrews sees the Old Testament sacrificial system to us understanding what exactly Jesus did, I think that's the big picture answer to what we're meant to do with it right now, is to recognize that Jesus does fulfill what the altar and the sacrifices were seeking to achieve. And if we didn't have these pictures and commands and the testimony of the altar and the sacrifices, then we would have less, we wouldn't be able to understand what Jesus did for us. It's interesting, I don't have the passage off the top of my head here, but the altar is where the sacrifice was made. But the altar, interestingly enough, there's a part in Exodus somewhere like 28 to 31 that says that the altar also purified anyone who touched it. So not only was the altar the place where the sacrifices were made, the altar was also the place of purification. And you can appropriate that not appropriate that, but you can see how it's fulfilled in Jesus, that not only is Jesus the one who has made this ultimate sacrifice for us, but he's also the one who purifies us. And yet Jesus isn't just the sacrifice and the altar, he's also the great high priest. So he fulfills even the priestly role of the ones who are offering the sacrifices as well. So it's like he's the altar, he's the sacrifice, he's the priest. And then you get into, the veil and the tabernacle. Sorry, not the veil and tabernacle. The veil and the ark. The most holy of holies and what's going on there. So I think there's a lot there, and it does seem like the Old Testament, especially the first 5 books of the Bible, sacrifices were things that were known to people before the law came. So it does seem like God is taking a practice that was known to a lot of the people and using it for his purposes. But I have no idea what this private parts verse means in Exodus 20:26. I just looked at a few other translations. They say nakedness. So do not go up on the altar on steps, or your nakedness will be or may be exposed. But I'm not sure what to do with that. It reminds me of that other law. What was it? Do not boil a goat in its mother's milk. You go, okay. I mean, I get that it's a prohibition. I don't know what significance this has and what it means.
Yeah. Look, I mean, yes, I don't really know what to do with this. I think Hebrews is a great place to go to kind of think through a lot of those Old Testament images and their place in relation to Jesus. I think, the altar in particular, though, I think there's more that I need to think through.
Can I throw something out there that you might find interesting?
Sure.
Okay, so this is very much drawing from Hebrews 9, and I think for the sake of time, I won't go ahead and do all of the explanation. But if you think about what's going on in the tabernacle, the altar is where the animal is offered and presented and killed. And there's more stuff that happens at the altar, but then the blood is actually brought to the veil, which is in front of the altar. And then behind the veil is where the Ark of the Covenant is, the most holy of holies, where the presence of God dwells. And so if you think about it, where the animal is killed is on the altar, but then its blood needs to be brought and sprinkled around the veil and then past the veil into the most holy of holy places. I think there's a case you can make from Hebrews 9 that maps onto the cross of Jesus, and then why his ascension was absolutely necessary.
Wow, okay. So his ascension being brought behind the curtain into the Holy of Holies?
That's right. Such that at the altar, which is the cross, or, if you think of it this way as the cross, the sacrifice was made, the point of purification was established. But unless Jesus, who is the Lamb who was slain, whose blood was shed, was actually brought into the most holy of holy places, then the work of atonement would not have been complete. And because Hebrews 9 establishes that the veil in the most holy of holy places is heaven. So, there's a lot more that could be said there, but actually what it does is it also shows us that Jesus' work of atonement, the cross is absolutely necessary, but so was his resurrection and ascension. And if he wasn't ascended into heaven and the Lamb who was slain brought into the presence of God, then the work of atonement would not have been complete.
That's interesting. I like that. I like a good theory. I reckon there's something there. Altar language also comes up a lot in Revelation.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
We're both at a loss on what to do about this private parts verse.
but just to change gears a little bit. In Exodus, thinking about the Ten Commandments, I've been when I got to the Ten Commandments, I'm like, okay, I want to stop. I want to think about the Ten Commandments. I want to think about what the order of them and stuff like that. And so, it's do you watch The West Wing? You've seen The West Wing?
Yes, sir.
The pilot episode. listeners, maybe you've seen The West Wing, but there's a scene in the pilot episode where there's this Christian lobby group kind of arguing, coming into the White House and talking to some of the senior advisors. And one of the Christian leaders says, "Honor thy father is the first commandment."
Yeah.
And then Toby Ziegler, a Jewish guy,
says it's the third commandment.
Pipes up and says, let's get them right. Honor thy father is the third commandment.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, hold on. That doesn't sound right. So I looked it up, and you'd think Aaron Sorkin would have done his research, He
is a Jewish man.
Honor thy father and mother is... Now, here's the interesting thing. In the Catholic tradition, it's the fourth commandment.
Mm-hmm.
In the Talmud, the Jewish tradition, it's the fifth commandment. Now, here's what I find really interesting. When the president comes in the room, okay, Martin, what's his name? Sheen?
Martin Sheen, yeah.
President Bartlett.
Josiah Bartlett.
He said, the guy asked, well, if that's not the first commandment, what is the first commandment? The president walks in and says, I am the Lord thy God, thou shalt have no other gods before me.
He gets it right.
Well, does he? In our tradition, in Reformed tradition, that's what we think the first commandment is. In the Catholic tradition, which is what President Bartlett is, he's Catholic. The first commandment includes the next line as well. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. And what's interesting is, in the Talmud, in the Jewish tradition, what President Bartlett said was actually more than the first commandment. The first commandment in the Talmud is just, I am the Lord thy God.
Yes.
And so when President Bartlett comes in the room, not only does he offend Toby once again by getting the commandment wrong, he doesn't even know his own Catholic understanding of the first commandment. And so this scene for me has got to be one of the greatest disappointments in The West Wing. Now, when I watch it the first time, I'm like, that's amazing. But when I, looked at it closely, compared it with the actual Ten Commandments and how different traditions view them, there's a really helpful table on Wikipedia, which you can look up Ten Commandments, and it shows what all the different traditions think of the Ten Commandments. Yeah, it's just disappointing.
Pip is disappointed.
That's it.
Hey, can I throw a spanner in the works here?
Yes. Please prove me wrong and Aaron Sorkin right.
No. I'm not here to do that. You're right. But the first time this was pointed out to me a few years ago, someone also pointed out, do you notice how it never says 10 Commandments in Exodus 20? It never actually says 10 Commandments here, even though this is the list that we tend to go with. But 10 Commandments does come up in Exodus 34. And so in Exodus 34, there is a list, and it includes things that you may not tend to think are the 10 Commandments.
Mm-hmm.
For example, in verse 18, it says, Exodus 34, verse 18, celebrate the festival of unleavened bread. For 7 days eat bread made without yeast as I commanded you. You've got verse 26, bring the best of the first fruits of your soil to the house of the Lord your God. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk.
Are these the 10 commandments? Are these 10 commandments or?
Well, 27. Then the Lord said to Moses, write down these words, for in accordance with these words I have made a covenant with you and with Israel. Moses was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights without eating bread or drinking water, and he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments.
Wow. Oh, wow. So it does call them the 10 Commandments, but
I think so.
But what are the 10 Commandments?
Yeah. So I guess I'm not trying to resolve this here, but to say The plot thickens, Mr.
Yes,
Witheridge.
the plot does thicken indeed. Oh my goodness. There's more investigative work to be done here.
That's right. And, as you keep reading Exodus, I'm sure you will do some thinking on this.
That is so interesting, because when I looked up 10 Commandments, I'm sure somewhere it said, while the commandments are never explicitly said that there are 10, there are many more. Which is true, there are many more than 10 commandments in the Old Testament. But here, in the very words of the text, you have 10 commandments. I never realized that. There you go.
There you go. The Bible is so good, isn't it, Pip?
It's rich.
So rich.
James,
I know this must be weird for you, by the way, because, so for our viewers watching on YouTube, Pip has been looking at my name.
That's right.
For the last, 20 minutes, because my camera has stopped working.
That's right. That's okay. I can live with this. James, what have you been reading lately? What do you want to share?
I'm working in Titus for our Friday night youth talks, and I just wanted to share something from Titus. By the way, I preached on the Joel 2 passage last week at church.
Yeah, how did that all go? It all go smoothly?
It did, thank you. Yeah, I was really thankful to be able to do it. I learnt lots from it as well, and preaching to a camera is very hard. And I also thought I was a bit too long for the online format. If it was in person, maybe I could have gotten away with my length, but it was a joy to preach on the passage. So that was good. That's good. Yeah.
And I totally agree. It's very weird preaching to camera.
So you just got to keep your eyes sort of on the lens. You look down.
Well, when I was doing my filming, I had a little teleprompter, and it was just above the camera.
Yes.
And so I don't know. It just looks weird. It looks like it looks like I'm talking to your forehead.
Yes.
If you watch the video. Anyway. What do you want to share today?
I want to go to Titus Chapter 2. So tonight we're looking at Titus 2, but we're going to spend 2 weeks on Titus 2 because throughout Titus we have this theme of the knowledge of the truth leading to godliness. And so tonight we're going to look at what this knowledge is from chapter 2, and then next week we're going to see the specifics about the godly character that the knowledge is affecting, or how Paul wants the people to grow. But what I want to just draw on is a very simple point that Paul makes in verses 11 to 12 of Titus chapter 2. So it reads as follows: "For the grace of God has appeared that offers salvation to all people. It teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions, and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in this present age." So what does the "it" refer to at the start of verse 12? I think the "it" is referring to the grace of God from verse 11. So I think what Paul is saying here is that the grace of God that offers salvation to all people, it's that grace that teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions, and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives. And that's a remarkable thought just to ponder on, that God's grace not only saves us, God's grace also teaches us. You think about grace as, or at least I have tended to think of grace sometimes as, it's unmerited, it's free, it's, you don't have to do anything, which is true, that is the grace of God. I don't tend to naturally think of grace, God's grace, as a teacher, as an instructor, as a trainer. And yet that's what Paul's saying here, that if you want to grow in saying no to ungodliness and yes to doing good and obeying God, let God's grace be your teacher. What do you think about that?
This is a great pickup. I mean, it is curious to think that the grace of God, the appearance of His grace. So again, like grace revealed, the this experience of grace teaches us something. I guess it flies in the face of the idea that you can separate out grace and a life of grace, or grace and a life transformed by grace. So it reinforces the idea that, saved people transform. You can't be under the grace of God. You can't have had a genuine experience of the grace of God without it affecting you in some way, in training you in some way. It teaches us to say no to ungodliness and well. I even like the force of verse 12. How many things have you said no to lately? It's an unpopular thing to say no to yourself nowadays.
That's a really good insight. Yeah.
People say, don't say no to, if you've got a desire, if you want to do something, say yes. To say no is to repress and to be oppressed. To say no to your child is to oppress them. To say no to your spouse or to your friend or to yourself is to be oppressive. But actually, no. To be able to say no to ungodliness and things that are bad and things that are actually detrimental to our life is a great thing to be able to do. And actually, when you think about destructive things, addiction, like worldly desires, if you think about addictions, you think about, so many things, when you lose the ability to say no to certain things, they can destroy your life. If you're unable to say no to worldly desires, your life will be destroyed. The grace of God teaches us to say no to them, gives us a new way of living. Yeah, look, yes.
You just reminded me of, that part in the US presidential debates last year where there was a moment when Kamala Harris went, "Yo, Joe, nobody wants to get into a presidential race. To have them hear, for the people to hear them just say, no, we can't. They want us to say, yes, we can." Something like that.
Wasn't that Obama's line? Wasn't that his
It
slogan?
was, yeah. It got huge applause. I'm like, yeah, that was a pretty zinger of a line. I like that.
That is good. So that was when Kamala was up against Biden, was it?
Yeah, that's right. Because I think Joe Biden was trying to say why an idea was unfeasible.
Yeah, right. That's great that Kamala did that to, in terms of, rhetorically, that's a great line.
It's pretty good. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. That's, we're in Titus 2 tonight, and we'll be in Titus 2 next week as we apply the rest of the chapter with our youth. So looking forward to that.
Whatever happened to the name Titus, by the way?
Titus?
No one's called Titus anymore. Is it a name?
It's a good question.
It's a solid name.
I know two people, not personally. Well, sorry, that's not true. One of them, I know a guy whose last name is Titus.
Really? Okay.
And in Lost, the TV show, in Series 6, there was a man who played one of the key characters called the Man in Black. And I think the actor's name was Titus. So there you go.
There you go. What was the big guy in Lost? What was his name?
Oh, the big guy?
Harvey?
Do you mean the main guy? Jack Shepherd?
No, I don't know. I didn't really watch Lost.
Are you talking about Locke? John Locke?
Could be.
Yeah? Anyway.
Hey, I wanted to float an idea by you, James.
Alright, float an idea by me. And you won't be able to see my facial expression, unfortunately.
I won't. Picture this, right?
Go.
Bookshelves, 2022.
Okay.
The Bible Boyz Bible commentary.
It's under Exodus 20:26, the commentary line just goes, "What's the deal with this?"
yeah. The whole thing is just like after every verse, it's like, this is a very interesting verse.
And we would be remiss not to point it out.
What's the deal with altars? We don't really know. History says a lot of good stuff.
Refer to Bible Boys, Season 6, Episode 4
That's
for
right.
more commentary.
That's right. I actually thought I've been genuinely thinking about like a Bible commentary where it's not for academic purposes. It's literally just for, like a comedy thing.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just a riffing with the text, like lots of sarcasm, like lots of like really flimsy apologetic arguments and like checkmate atheists and like
Yes.
oh man,
That's pretty funny.
that could be good.
I like it. Hey, do you have a Guess Who character for me?
Yes, I do. Now, I got to admit, I don't know a lot about this person, but I'm gonna look him up right now.
Great. Let's do it. Well, listeners, we're about to play 20 Questions, Guess Who, where we try to guess a Bible character. This week, I'll be guessing. You can play along from home. 20 questions, yes or no. Pip, are you ready?
Yep. Oh, look, I think so. We'll see. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Question number 1. Does this character first appear in the Old Testament?
Yes.
Question number 2. Is this character human?
Yes.
Question number 3. Is this character male?
Yes.
Question number 4. Does this character show up around the time of Abraham?
No.
Question number 5. Does this character show up around the time of Moses?
No.
Okay. Does this character show up... Question number 6. Does this character show up between Abraham and Moses?
No.
Okay. Alright, so not between Abraham and Moses. Question number 7. Does this character show up before Abraham?
No.
Okay. Question number 8. Does this character show up before David?
No.
Question number 9. Does this character show up after Solomon?
Yes.
Okay, after Solomon. Alright, cool. We got a yes somewhere. Question number 10.
Pretty sure.
Okay.
Yes, I'm gonna say yes.
Wait a second. I think I got it. Question number 10. Does this character have a book of the Bible named after them?
Yes.
Is this character Job?
Who?
Job.
With a B?
Yes. Job.
No, it's not.
No! Oh, wow. 11. Wait, what? After Solomon doesn't... Okay, alright. I thought I was being very smart at this point. That's okay. Alright, let's keep going. Is this character a prophet?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Is this character a minor prophet?
Yes.
Okay. Does this character's name starts with Z?
No.
Okay. I feel like, I realized. I feel like these letter questions should be banned, because you could just try and...
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Okay. Does this character... Does this character's book have 4 or less chapters? 4 or less chapters.
Just give me a sec. Give me 1 second. Just
Sure.
one second. 4 or less chapters.
Yes.
Does it have 4 or less chapters? The answer to that question is yes.
Okay, 4 or less chapters. So that's 15 questions. I got 5 left. 4 or less. So what do we got? We got Joel, Jonah, Nahum, Haggai, Zephaniah, Malachi. Oh, why did I say 4? Does this characters... Great. Does this character speak to Nineveh?
I don't think so.
Okay. Does this character... Okay, that's 16 questions, I think. But really, I could just try to guess some names now, and I should be able to get it. Is this character... Does this character have 3 chapters in its book?
Yes.
Is it Habakkuk?
No.
No! Is it Joel?
Yes.
Wow, that got pretty close there. 19 questions.
When you said Job, I was like, I thought you said Joel, and I was like, no way, no way he got that quickly.
Oh, that should have been a hint for me.
Yeah, because when I was like, is that Job with a B?
Yes. Oh, very good. Good job, Pip.
Good.
That threw me for a loop. Yeah. Because if it was yes to Nineveh, then it's Haggai. Oh, sorry, not Haggai. It's Nahum or Jonah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good stuff. Good job. Good work.
Yep. Joel the prophet. Joel.
Joel the prophet.
The J-Dog.
We don't know exactly when it was written.
No, but according to Wikipedia...
Oh, yeah? What does Wikipedia say?
Some commentators suggest that Joel lived in the 9th century BCE, whereas others assign him to the 5th or 4th century BCE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. At church, the line we've taken is that it was written around 600 BC.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pre-Babylonian exile with Judah getting destroyed, but after the Assyrian exile with Northern Kingdom of Israel being destroyed.
How does that work? I wonder how that works when you've got multiple people preaching a sermon series on something, let's say the Book of Joel. When you get together with the other people and you talk about, okay, when was this written? Like, what happens if there's no consensus?
Well, I'll tell you right now. I went along with the 600 BC.
Oh, okay.
Let the reader understand.
Right. What did you think? Are you allowed to share? What's your thought on it? I mean, is there
I was... Oh, sorry. No, you go.
Is there any significance in the... I mean, I'm sure for some books there is a significance if there's a couple hundred years plus or minus, but for Joel, is there any significance?
To be honest, I'm pretty 50-50 on what I think.
Okay.
It's significant that no kings are mentioned in the Book of Joel. I think it's significant. I mean, what I shared last week about Micah being the point in the Book of the 12 when the leaders are, brought to the forefront, that might have something to say about it. But I think you could make a case that this is post Judah's destruction and a Babylonian exile. Like, I think you could make that case, which would be after 586 BC.
But does that change anything about the message at all, or?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I can see, like, if someone has a very late date for, one of the New Testament letters or something and wants to say this was written, this wasn't written by someone, or, not willing to go with the traditional view of the authorship or something, that might cause some issues. But generally, I don't really see the difference. I guess probably the main one is Genesis. That would cause a bit of theological tension, I guess, if someone wants to have a late date for Genesis versus an earlier date. Yeah.
But can I just say, by the way, it's not that I think that the 600 BC sort of dating is wrong.
Yeah, okay.
It's just at the time when I was thinking about it, I was going, I'm pretty 50-50. I think if I was preaching the whole series, I would have said, yeah, we just don't know for sure. But we've said 600 BC, and I think there are good reasons for it, in fact, because it could be, pre-Judah Babylonian exile, and foretelling that. So I just went, yeah, this is good. So when I say I went along with it, it's not that I was, secretly seething and
Yeah, no. And I guess that's actually one of the great things about team preaching is that you do, like, those distinctives almost aren't allowed to shine out because you do have to kind of even out and say, all right, let's preach in accordance with this, like within the range of these different opinions. Let's preach the message of the text. And so you don't get caught up on if someone's got a weird idea about something that they just hammer on that. You're kind of forced to work as a team to present the crux of it, the main message, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it's been a joy actually just to chat with Raj, our new senior minister, chatting with him about Joel. I've really appreciated it. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
Nice. Hey, have you been watching any of the Olympics?
Yes, Viv and I have been. Yeah, why? Why do you ask?
Have you been watching any of the pentathlon?
No, I haven't. Tell me about it.
Are you familiar with chowder? You know how chowder's made?
Yes.
Get like the leftover bits of like stuff. Mm-hmm. That's essentially what the pentathlon is.
That's good.
Yeah, 5 sports no one cares about. No. I'm sure people care about the 5 sports.
Yeah.
But there's like fencing and shooting and cooking a duck or something. And
are you serious? Is there actually cooking a duck?
No, I don't think so. But there's weird stuff. Skateboarding is new. I don't know if you've watched that.
No, I saw that. I also watched the BMX biking, the freestyle one live. That was all amazing. Yeah.
Do you think there's any correlation between the sport and the kind of spectrum of names that you get representing that sport? You get a lot of,
like the BMX guy being named Logan.
Yeah, you get a lot of Logans, and you get a lot of Jadens, and
you got a bunch of Michaels in swimming.
Yeah,
maybe
a lot of Williams in polo.
Yes. Maybe only in some of the sports. Maybe not all of them. Logan being a BMX biker, that was
classic.
That was amazing. I thought that was great.
What's your favourite sport to watch?
My favourite sport to watch, to be honest, is probably tennis right now. It used to be either swimming or cricket. But I think in recent times, tennis for me. What about you?
I like the 100-meter dash. It's not a big time commitment.
Unless there are a lot of false starts.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, do you see that runner in the final? That guy who got, imagine that. You're waiting around for hours. You're getting dressed. You're thinking about it the whole day. Been training for it for years. Just 1 second too early.
That's right.
Just a split second too early. Too keen, and you're sent home for life. That's right. Brutal. I would say that is the most brutal thing about the Olympics. Yeah,
that's right. I was talking to Viv about it, right? Yeah, you put your all this life's work into it. 4 years of training since the last one. 5 for this one. You get there, and it's 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Hey, also, when I watch the running, I don't know if you feel this as well. I sometimes watch it on TV and I'm like, I can run that fast.
I never think that, Pip, but okay.
You
made me think of the Office episode. You know that intro when they're trying to walk past the speed
camera?
Yeah. To see how fast they can run.
Yeah.
And was it Michael who runs while a car's going by and he's like running at 30 miles per hour?
Yeah. That's my speed.
Is that you, Pip?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Sometimes I watch it and I'm like, it looks fast, but there have been times when I've been running for a bus or something and I've probably gone that fast. Like,
You know, I had a question I wanted to ask about, but that's okay. Well, let's save it for next week.
Okay.
We'll open with it. You can say, James, what was your mystery question
sure.
from the week before? But I think we've done enough yakking for today, Pip.
That's it.
That's it. Listeners, you can always email us at thebibleboys@gmail.com, and we'll be back next week with some more Bible goodness, some more happenings, some more banter, and we may or may not have a Bible commentary to our names.
I'm serious about this.
Maybe in 10 years' time we can do something like this.
That's it.
Why don't you
Alright.
sign us out, Pip?
God bless everyone. Have a great week. Hope you're all going okay in lockdown, those of you who are in lockdown. And peace out. See ya.